Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where I upload daily videos on programming with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. If you haven't subscribed, please go subscribe now. As you can see, we have cool effects that you can practice using HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and we also have crash courses. So if you're new to HTML, CSS and JavaScript, no problem, got you covered. There are tons, there are lots of videos, very self-explanatory videos on HTML and CSS that anyone can understand it. So in this video we're going to continue with our CSS crash course. We're going to finish our CSS today. So if you haven't subscribed, please go subscribe now. Let's get to the 1K subscribers before the end of the month. I believe we can get there with your help. So please go subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So in the last tutorial, we touched on CSS border. We created a container and we styled it with our CSS. We learned how to import images, and we learned how to add text, text shadow to our text, and also learned how to create a list. So in this tutorial, we're going to cover CSS positions, contact form, and so much more. We're going to learn a lot in this tutorial, so I'll advise you hang on to this tutorial and let's get this over with. So we are in our VS Code. So what I would like you to do now is to make sure you already have all this code in your VS Code. If you don't have it, don't worry, I'll be dropping a link to get this code. It's going to be in the description below, so make sure you check the description to get this code. So now in the last class you saw what we did. In this video we're going to create our form. So let's create a div, let's create a form tag. We're not going to be using this action for now. We'll be doing that in our further tutorials. So let's give this form a class. Let's give it a class of form. So in this form we're going to have a div, and we're going to give this div a class and name the class form content. In this form content div, we're going to have a label for name, and we're going to give this label a name, so it's going to have name in the label. So what this is saying is this label is for the name. We're going to be asking for the user's name, so we need to have a label asking for the name. So next we're going to make an input tag. In the input tag we're going to have a type of text and also a name. The name of this input tag is what is name also, because we are requesting the user's name. So next we're going to copy this, and paste. Let's give this a tab. So let's change this to email, and this is going to be, the name is going to be email. the type, you can leave it as text. Then also this, we're going to change this to message, and we're not going to have input for the message. We're going to have a different tag called text area. So the name of this text area is going to be message. We don't need this ID and columns and row for now. Next, we're going to have another input tag, and I'm going to give this input tag a class of button, and it's going to have a type of submit, because this is going to be our submit button. We're going to give this a value of submit also. That's all. So save this and open your live server. Yeah, as you can see, we already have the form. Let's just make a div so we could see what we are doing. Let's give this a style of padding top, of 500 pixels. Save. Yes. So now we're going to style our form. So let's grab the form class, and in our CSS we're going to call the form. So we're going to give the form a padding of 20 pixels. I'm going to call our form again, form. Then we'll call the form content. We're going to give this a padding button. Going to give this a padding button of 15 pixels. And also we have to call the form and call the label. Give this a display of block. I want it to display block, not inline. There are two types of display. We have inline display and block display. So we gave that a block display. Now we're going to move on with our form, and we're going to call the input tag. Which input tag are we calling? We're calling the input tag that has a type of text. So we're calling the input tag that has type text. So we'll give this a padding of 8 pixels and width of 100%. Save this and check your browser. So as you can see, the form, we've styled the form already. Now this is the label, the name label, email and message, and these are the input tags. So in this input tag, we'll notice that this message tag is quite different. So how do we fix this? How do we adjust this? So we notice that we didn't call the text area. This message is actually a text area. It's not an input tag, unlike the name and the email. So now we're going to call our text area in this CSS. So how do we do that? We'll simply grab the form, and call the text area. So that should fix it. Yes, so we have the name, the email, and also the message. Now let's style this submit button. So we're going to create a class called button. So we're going to give this a background color of, let's say, let's go for blue, or let's find a cool color. Let's say, yes, this color is kind of cool, so let's use this color. That's the background color. Let's add color to the background. Now next thing we're going to select is the color, the text color. So we're going to give this a color of white, which is #FFF. That's the hexadecimal color. So we're going to give this a padding. Let's give this a padding of 10 pixels top and bottom, and let's grab left and right 15 pixels. Next, we don't want to give this a border, so we're saying border none. Save and check your browser. So here's the submit button. Let's make this uppercase. So text, no, not text decoration, text transform uppercase. Save, and also let's add over effects. No, let's add over effects to the button. To add over effects, semicolon and over. So when we hover on the text, we want the background color to change. So let's select the background color. Let's change it to red, a nice shade of red. No, instead of using red, let's go for blue, or this. Yes, this is okay. So we want the color to remain white, the text color. So write color #FFF. Now save this and check your browser. When we're over on it, it's not working. Let's see the error. Okay, so we've seen the error. It is BUTTON. That was a typographical error. So as you can see, it's changing, but it's so fast. So let's add transition. So let's add the transition. 0.5 seconds, 0.5 seconds. Ease in out. So as you can see, it gently changes the background color. Now you can see this message text area. We can resize it. Now you don't want to have a website where your customer or the user of the websites can adjust the text area. That's just not professional. So how do we change this? How do we fix this? Go back to your VS Code. Now here that we have this form and text area, let's just select this, copy cut it out, cut this form text area out and paste it below. So now, since we've targeted the text area, we're going to say resize and none. We don't want our customers to resize the tag, the message text area. So we fixed that. Now we're going to position, CSS positions. Let's just create a fun project below this contact form. So now go into your HTML. Now we want to create, let's get rid of this. So now I want to create a new div and give it a class of block, or let's just call it box. So in this box we're going to have a h2. Let's give this a heading. You can call this first heading. Now we're going to generate random text, just dummy text. So this should be okay. Yeah, that should be okay. So what you want to do now is you want to grab this box and paste it 3 times. Now paste it 2 times, right? 1, 2. Save this and check your browser. So let's check. Okay, so what is going on here? You would notice that this box div, we already have a box div, a box with a class of div, a div with a class of box rather, up above. So we need to change this. So let's give it a class of let's say box content. So you copy this and paste it over here and here. Now go back to the browser. Yes, should be different. You should have something like this. No, instead of this h2, let's just have h3. Let's make it h3. All done. Now let's style this real quick. So we're in our CSS right now. So first we're going to grab the box contents. So we're going to float this to the left. So we're going to give it a width of 33%, 3.3%. Now let me explain this real quick. So as you can see, let me move this a bit higher. And just create a div and give it a style of padding top 400 pixels. So let me go back to explaining. So as you can see here, they were on separate lines before. Now since we changed the width of one individual box content to 33.3%, they each adapted to this whole container, this whole space from here to here. so they each occupy the space of width of 33.3%. So that's what is happening over here. We have each box content assuming a width of 33.3%. So let's go back to our CSS. Now we want to give this a border of 1 pixel solid gray, which is CCC light gray. Let's give this a padding of 10 pixels. Now, as you can see here, this third box content is assuming the next line. It's going to the next line. Why is it going to the next line? Well, we gave an individual box content. We gave an individual box content a width of 33.3%. Then we also added this border, which was 1 pixel, and this padding, which is also 10 pixels. So in the whole box content, we have in the whole container we have a width of 100%. So we shared this width to 3 places. That's why we have this 33.3%. So this padding and this border, which have 1 pixel and 10 pixels, are assuming more width, are adding to the width of this box content, thereby making it insufficient for all of them to be on the same line. So how do we fix that? We just add a simple property called the box sizing, and box sizing, and we add this border box to the box sizing. Save this and check your browser. Should have it fixed. Yes, we have it fixed right now. So next we're going to move on with our CSS and HTML. So now, since we added this float property, it's going to definitely disrupt our next code. So how do we clear that fix? So we go back to our HTML, and right below this, in fact, let me just move this a bit. So right beneath this box content, I want to have a div with a class of fix. So let's grab this class, and we're going up here because it's part of our global fix. So let's get rid of the error we're going to get in future with this clear property. So just clear both, and our next line of code shouldn't have any problem or whatsoever. So now let's go back to our HTML. So let's create a new div. Let's give it a class of left sidebar. Let's just grab this h3 and the paragraph. Copy this, paste it below, and change this to right sidebar. Check your browser. as you can see, they're on top of each other because they are block elements. So now we're going to make it inline. They will be on the same line. So let's style that on our CSS. So we're in our CSS now. Let's grab the left sidebar, copy this, so we want to float it to the left. Next, we want to give it a width of 70% and a padding of 15 pixels. Save and check your browser. So as you can see, they are on the same line. So let's grab the right sidebar, give this a width. No, let's float it to the right, give it a width of 30 pixels, 30% rather, and let's give this a background color. Let's say, let's go for a cool color like green. Let's say green, or a lighter shade of green. So let's pick one here. So this color should be fine. Our text color is going to be white, of course, and give this a padding also of 15 pixels. Now you notice this went to the next line. Why? So just like this box content, we also need to give it a box sizing. So let's give this a box sizing of border box, and here also box sizing border box. So that should fix that. So we are almost done, guys. We are almost done. Next thing is to deal with CSS position. So before we move into CSS position, let's move this down a bit. So how do we do that? We simply add a margin top of 30 pixels, copy this and paste it over here. Save and check your browser. Yes, this is much better. So now let's get into our CSS position. So we're in CSS positions. So we have various types of CSS positions. We have the static position, the relative position, the fixed position, absolute position, initial, and inherit. So what does the static position mean? So the static position is the default position of your browser. So if you don't add any position to your elements, it automatically assumes the position of static. So now the relative position allows you to move your elements. You could add top or bottom to your elements and automatically it moves. That's because you have the relative position. Now the fixed position is the type of position whereby your element is fixed at a particular spot in your browser. So no matter how much you scroll, the element remains stagnant in that position. Now the absolute position allows you to move your element due to the fact that it's in uh, this fact that it's in absolute position, you are able to move the elements how you want to move it. You could give your elements top, padding, any property would be effective using your absolute position. Now the initial position is the it's the default position, which is the static position. So if you want to make your elements have the initial position, which is the static position, that means you don't want to make your elements movable. So you give it the initial position, which is the static position. Now the inherit position inherits the position of the parent element. So imagine if you had a div with a class called container, and you had some elements in the container, and you give the elements a position of inherit A. So the element in the container automatically assumes the properties of the property, which is the position of the container div. So that's it about position. Now let me show you how we can make that of use. So now let's practice what we just learned. So since we floated this right sidebar and the left sidebar, let's get rid of them by the clear the float function by creating a div and giving it the class of fix. So it won't affect our next line of code. So now we're going to create a new div and give it a class of position boxes, or let's just say position box. So in this position box, we're going to have a h1 saying hello world, and h2 saying goodbye world. Save this. Now let's style this in our CSS. Copy this, and in our CSS we're going to grab the position box. Let's give it a width of 800 pixels and a height of 500 pixels. Also, let's give it a border of 1 pixel, solid black. Margin to 30 pixels. Save this and click it later. On the period and the power. So let's talk about the positions. So let's try to work with absolute position. Let's grab the h1 and let's give it a position of absolute. Now what's going to happen is, let's give this a top of 40 pixels. Save and click it enter. It notices that the h1 has gone. Where did the h1 go to? Here. Here's the h1. Here's the hello world. You can see it. Here it is. So what happened was that the h1 assumed the whole HTML document, which is the web page, was its container. So it automatically assumed the whole HTML was its container. So it moved 40 pixels to the top of the container, which is the HTML page, which is this whole web page here. So how do we fix that? Well, it's very easy. We give this position box a position of relative. So as you can see, it's no longer here. Now it's here. Let me show you that it's quite obvious. Let's add left. Let's make this 100 pixels to the left, and let's make this 50 pixels. As you can see, it has moved quite reasonably. So let's work with this goodbye. Let's check another position, or let's just use the absolute position. So say position box h2, position of absolute, and let's move this to the bottom. Let's say 200 pixels. Yeah. Okay. Let's make this further. Let's say 400 pixels, and to the left, 400 pixels also. No, 300 pixels. This is quite low. Okay. Let's make this right. Pixels. Let's make this bottom 100 also. And this right, let's change the right from 100 to 40 pixels. It should be okay. Yes. So this is okay. So we dealt with position absolute and position relative. So let's go to fixed position. Now go to your HTML. Let's create this outside our container div. So let's create an anchor tag. Give the class of button. Let's just say hi there. Let's just make this hello. So here it is. Let's get rid of this underline. So go to your CSS. Where we have the anchor tag. We'll have the anchor tag here. Okay. So the anchor tag, and we want to get rid of the underline. So say text transform none, and text decoration no. No, text transform should be uppercase. Yes, so this is quite okay. Now let's style this button. Let's give this button another class, so we don't touch this button class that we've already styled. So let's just add another class to this. Let's call it fix btn. So copy this, copy, go to your CSS, So let's give this a position of fixed on top of 400 pixels. Save this and check your browser. So as you can see, this button sticks to your web page, so it doesn't move at all. No matter how much you scroll, it doesn't move. It's in a fixed position. So now let's try to add a background image to this position box. So let's grab an image, background image. So URL to get our image. So I've already explained how this works in the previous tutorial. So we're leaving the CSS folder, going into our images folder, and also going to select the image. So let's select an image here. Let's just say image img 396.jpg. so this will be the name of your image. So if your image was car and it was a JPG image, so it's going to be car.jpg. If it's a PNG image, it's going to be .png. The image hasn't yet appeared in the browser. Okay, let's make this background size cover, background repeat. I don't want it to repeat, so no repeat. Background position, (100 pixels and 200 pixels to the left and right). And let's also give this center. Okay, that should be okay. Why did the image appear? Let's check our linking correctly. Okay, so the problem is we don't have this image in our folder. So let me just get this image in our folder real quick. So I've transferred the image into this folder. So let's check our browser. It should appear right here. So the image isn't quite occupying this box, so let's fix that real quick. So this background position, let's adjust it, center, top. Save this. It should be yes. Let's make the text white. Here also white. So that's yes. So in this tutorial we covered everything. So in the next tutorial we're going to be creating our website. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you in the next video.